Hello, this is Sam Gerrans from samgerrans.com. Today is Thursday, April the 27th, 2023, and today the subject is MP who compared COVID to Holocaust expelled by party. This is another offering from our good friends at The Independent. Again, I do pick on The Independent because it's free, but I've said all this many times, so we're not going to bother. I haven't read this. I've just seen the title. I couldn't resist it. I gotta see what's happened to this poor chap. And anyway, let's have a look at it together. Okay, MP who compared COVID vaccines to the Holocaust expelled by party. I expect Tory MP. So if you're not in the UK, Tories are Conservatives. They're sort of like they're the kind of the Republican wing of the Uni Party in the UK. Defiant Andrew Bridgen hit out at, quote, corruption, collusion and cover-ups over his sacking from the party. I'm sorry about the advertising. There's nothing I can do about that. Oh, it's gone away good. Here we are. So he's been kind of kicked out of the party. Now, let's just close down all of this spam and so on. I'll try later. Probably not. There you are. Close that. The Conservatives have expelled MP Andrew Bridgen from the party after he compared COVID-19 vaccines to the Holocaust. Oh, this is interesting. That's all I've read of this so far, and I sort of thought about this. He's comparing COVID to the Holocaust. Well, what does he mean by that? I mean, if he means that this is an ideology fundamentally with perhaps some basis in truth at some point, but expanded beyond all belief and imposed upon the population as something that you must believe and used to extract billions of dollars and to keep people in their place. If that's what he means, well, he's a very naughty boy, isn't he? And I'm very glad he's been expelled from the party. Let's see what else has happened to him. He was already sitting as an independent MP, i.e. he'd left the party himself, I expect, after being stripped of the party whip. The party whip means basically you go along with the party line, whatever the party's going to vote on. It means that you're a member of the party and a sort of a good boy. Yeah, you're playing the game is what that means. But was dismissed from the party after an investigation found his comments breached lobbying rules. Rishi Sunak, the unelected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Now, I just added that bit, but I mean, let's be honest. It doesn't make any difference who's there. I hardly bother learning their names anymore. They're interchangeable. They're got about as much personality as a sort of doormat. Have you noticed there aren't any statesmen anymore? Can you name me one in the West who's a genuine statesman? No, they all look like some kid you see. Rishi Sunak's. You can see, he's the kid at school who had the brand new BMX when you were all, cycling around on the crap bicycles falling apart third hand from, a second uncle or something. You know these people. You saw them all at school. None of them have got any gravitas whatsoever, but that's probably a good thing because if they had it, they wouldn't be able to do their jobs because their job is to obey. That's all it is. They don't have an original thought in their mind, not one. Rishi Sunak denounced his comments. Denounced. That's an interesting word. It's a real communist word, that is, denounced. His comments as, quote, completely unacceptable after Mr. Bridgen claimed the jabs were, quote, causing serious harms. Well, how dare he do that? I mean, has he got any evidence for this? Well, let's find out. And said he had been told the vaccine program was the biggest crime against humanity since the Holocaust. Well, he didn't mean those things that I thought he might have meant. There you are. That's probably to the good, I would imagine. The Independent subsequently revealed that Mr. Bridgen had been bombarding members of the cabinet with anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theory, this is a wonderful term. Whoever came up with this one, I'd love to have been in the room when they were sitting there sort of banding around the idea. What do we call people who try to understand what's really going on? We need to call them something. Should we call them weirdos? Yeah, well, weirdos, that's probably not very good. So they came up with conspiracy theory. Isn't that interesting? So really potent combination of words. Because conspiracy, by definition, implies or has implicit within it the idea that there's this agreement of people out there conspiring together. Well, do people conspire together? All the time. If you've ever worked in a big company, you've seen it. You know, especially if it's a British company, you go to these meetings, you know for a fact that what you're going to sit through is a complete load of tosh. It's nothing to do with what's actually going, you know, you're not really being asked about anything. No, there is a conspiracy in the company. The top managers have decided what's going to happen, and you go to this meeting and you sort of pretend like you have a choice. Well, we all know you don't. So there is an agreement, you know, a plan. Let's call it a plan. And theorist, a conspiracy theory. It means that it's just something you just kind of dread. A theory. Well, I mean, you know, that the moon is made out of cheese. That's, I suppose, a theory. But it divests anything that the person says of any substance or gravitas or meaning. Just right there. It's such a powerful combination of words. So he was bombarding members of the cabinet with anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. Let's word this another way. He was tirelessly working to inform his colleagues of the scientific basis which was at odds to the propaganda which we were being fed. I mean, that one could allege would be another way of presenting exactly the same words. Bombarding. You see, you've got this picture in your mind of some crazed man sitting there and he's at his computer in his underpants at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bottle of bourbon whiskey, you know, spamming all of his friends with some, you know, weird stuff he's found on the dark web. That's the image that comes to mind. This is all I'm trying to do is point out that all of this is propaganda. Everything you read in the media is propaganda. It's all it is. Their job is to manage you. In fact, I don't know if I can link to it. I have to remember where I saw it. But there's a great clip I saw on Telegram of this chap, American, at some press association meeting, standing up and asking a question of the press, and these were top editors, why they hadn't talked about, anything, you know, from COVID to America blowing up the Nord Stream to just, you know, what's going on in Ukraine, everything. And they hadn't, all they could do was sit there and smirk. That's all they got, because they know that their job is to do this. And if you have a memory, David Rockefeller, I'm not sure which heart transplant that chap was on at that time. He had 6 in the end. He addressed, I think, the same people, and thanked them for keeping quiet about what the plans that these people were running through, you know, driving through. And he said, we couldn't do it without you. Without basically your compliance, we wouldn't be able to push through our plans. That's it. That's what they're doing. Okay. Announcing his dismissal on Wednesday, a Conservative Party spokesman said Mr. Bridgen was expelled from the Conservative Party on April 12th, following the recommendation of a disciplinary panel. Well, that sounds very British. A disciplinary panel. You're going to be disciplined. He has 28 days from this date to appeal. But the defiant Leicester Northwest MP vowed to stand again at the next general election as he hit out at, quote, corruption, collusion and cover-ups. Yeah, well, he might have a point, but I wouldn't place any bets on his political future. I mean, he obviously isn't much of a politician, because being a politician is the ability, fundamentally, to lie for political advantage. And he's really playing the wrong game. In a statement, he said, my expulsion from the Conservative Party under false pretences only confirms the culture of corruption, collusion and cover-ups which plagues our political system. Yeah, well, some of the reasons for that are implicit in the rest, in the sort of the bones of this article, but we won't get into that. I have been a vocal critic of vaccine rollout, and the party has been sure to make an example of me, and that's certainly true. And in fact, that whole what was the word I heard? I can't remember. I'm blanking on it. Was it something like pantodemic? I can't remember. Somebody came up with a brilliant one on my Substack, and I'll try and remember it, and I'll bring it up next time. That's precisely what they're doing, and they're weeding out, and they have weeded out any politician who was worth his salt, and the good police, and all of the good nurses, and that's what COVID 1.0 was for. You wait for COVID 2.0; they're beginning to push it. If you watch the media, see, the way to use the media is to use it. I don't know what it's called in English, but in Russian it's called tableau. That big screen where you have all the flights going. When you go into an airport, you go into, you go in the door and there'll be this big screen with all of the flights, where they're coming from, where they're going to, and all of that. That's the way to use the media. It's an indicator. It's like a stock market of what the agenda is. That's all. And you just watch, the котировки, I don't know, the kind of like the share price is going up and down on this thing, and you just learn to read it like that. And that's how it works. That's the only way to use this. If you can start to understand, and what you're looking for is themes. Themes will repeat. I mean, for example, the subject for which this chap has been berated, or the comparison that he made, you'll notice that this is in the media 25 times a year, all the time. This is an event which is, happened some 70 years ago. You're never allowed to forget it. Never for a moment are you allowed to forget it. Children are indoctrinated into this at school. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity, absolutely ever. And if you have any questions, well, you're just a racist, aren't you? I mean, it's just, and no one sort of stops and thinks, well, perhaps, what about the Armenian genocide? What about this genocide? What about the 100 million that were murdered in China? What about the 60 million were murdered by the Soviets? What about? But no, apparently those people, they don't matter. They don't matter. And if you disagree that they're not qualitatively as significant as this other event, then you're a racist. And if you see a contradiction in that, then you're a bigot. And if you keep asking questions, then something bad happens to you. There you are. It's called freedom, isn't it? What about, what kind of truth is it you're not allowed to ask questions about? Anyway, a string of senior Tories and rising stars have said they will stand down at the election amid a polling slump, including ex-Chancellor Sajid Rajid Vavid and Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the backbench, blah, blah, blah. They're just actors. They don't care a toss about any of you lot. They're only there because they're corrupt. And, probably they're all blackmailed and blackmailable. And a lot of them go into it and say, come on, give me something you can blackmail me with, because they know that's the price of admission. They're completely sold out. All they want is this life. They want, they want a bigger, better, more expensive, whatever it is, and more of them. And what they want is to feel safe. They're all scrabbling for places. They're not the elites. These are the kind of the midwit, kind of vitrine. I don't know what it is in English. Like window dressing. That's what they are. That's all they are. They're just the interface between the elites and us, the dirty plebs. That's their job. They know that. And what they're all doing, they're all terrified because they know something big's coming, because the elites are pushing through an agenda at a rate of knots now. If you've noticed, they're in a hurry and they're making some mistakes. I mean, they do make mistakes. They usually are able to use them to their advantage, but they are making some mistakes. And if their problem is that they're in a rush, they're afraid of something, and these types of people, these prostitutes, which is what they actually all are, most of them, and they're all fighting, they're scrabbling for a place on the ark, because they know they're done with you. And if they don't know it intellectually, they intuit it, they understand, they know which way. One thing they are good at is understanding which way the wind's blowing. You've got to give them that much, okay? And that's how it works, okay? And so that's how the obedience quotient kind of gets ramped up, because their only chance of, as they see it, survival is by being as obedient as possible. But unfortunately, it doesn't work this way, because the system, the Satan will throw them under the bus at the opportune moment, at the least opportune moment. Always does. It's just the price you have to pay. Any more? Oh, there's Tucker Carlson. Got rid of him as well, didn't they? I think he'll be back somehow. I hope so. There are now more than 30 Tory MPs who have announced they won't be standing, with 12 Labour MPs also stepping down next year. Well, that's the end of that. I mean, the rest of it, they didn't really know where to go with this article, but they kind of tried to make it seem as if there was something significant going on within, the shifts within the power structures of the politicians, of the political class in the UK. It's all nonsense. It's a drama. It's a psychodrama. It's a pageant. That's it. That's all it is. If you think it's anything else, go and watch the Disney Channel. I think you'll enjoy that. Anyway, that's it for today. Details of where I upload to, how you can join my Substack and Telegram channel and support my work and download my books free are in the description. Thanks for listening and bye for now.